Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to another meeting at the Bridge Book Club, where we meet monthly to discuss the various sections of the treatise 700 Conscientiology Experiments. So today we will be covering the sections INTRAPHYSICALITY and SOCIABILITY. And before we introduce our facilitators for today's discussion, we just want to remind everyone that we will be recording this session and making it available on the Isaac YouTube channel for the benefit of those who cannot attend today's meeting. And we also want to remind everyone and encourage everyone to enter into the website, register yourselves if you haven't already, participate in the online discussion forum, and also invite anyone else you think might be interested in participating in this research marathon. So we're nearly halfway through it, right, guys? So feel free, anybody can join at any time. It's always open and free. And during these sessions, feel free to speak up at any time. You can also use the chat feature or the raise your hand feature. And we have several monitors who are going to be watching to see, if you want to speak up. So please don't hesitate. Yeah, and without further delay, I'd like to hand it over to our facilitators to give a little bit of an introduction.
Thank you. Jeffrey, should I start?
Please, ladies first.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thanks for the invitation to participate as a facilitator. And I have watched the recordings of 2 prior meetings. And I have to say I was surprised about how you guys managed to connect, to relate the issues of the book with the current situation and with your intra-conscientiality. So I was really surprised about the profound or the deep debate that you had, and I surely hope that we can maybe go on with this, with the study of the intraphysicality and the sociability, which are the two sections which were now to be read during the last month.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, isn't it? The last 3 months, maybe now we get into the 3rd month of the big crisis about the coronavirus and stuff. And so these chapters, although perhaps always relevant to our lives, we've probably had more time to reflect and to ponder and seen ourselves in a situation which really is a crisis. And I think the world tends to only change in a bigger way when there is a crisis. And so, connecting these ideas which are written and researched in Conscientiology with the moment we're in, it's so relevant. And I think it's nice that we're able to make these ideas available in a broader way now as well, and offer them, I suppose, as a way for researchers and for the general Holothosene of the planet, So if crisis brings changes, making these ideas available makes them a possibility to come into reality in a broader way. So it'd be interesting to hear your guys' reflections about the chapters and the period we're in as well. So who has some comments there?
If no one wants to start, I would like to add another question to it. Did you like to study these 2 sections of the 700 experiments, or was it an easy reading for you guys comparing to the other month's sections? Or was it harder? Did you need more energy or more focusing on the chapters? Because in my opinion, these are the 2 sections which are more related to this crisis, to our intraphysical situation that we are facing today, which is some global crisis, but sometimes also an intra-consciential crisis for each of us. So was it harder to study these sections, or was it easier?
And I'll make a comment. I thought that these chapters, for me, they were easier for me to read just because of what you said, that you could really relate the current situation and observe everything that was going on and connect it to the reading. So for me, in that sense, it was much easier. But it was kind of... it's kind of almost a paradox too as well, because it was difficult in a way that because there is so much going on, there's so much distractions, there are so many other pressures going on with work and with our social, sociability and everything like that. In that sense, it was a bit harder to focus on the chapters and getting ourselves organized. So, and I'll ask a question a little bit later about having more liberties and choices that's related to that. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on that.
Great, thank you, Michiko. And I think this ambivalent situation, on one hand, it's easier, on the other hand, it seems we need to focus more to get to be productive. I think this crisis, in me, I saw that it has this ambivalent characteristic. I'm not sure if I got that right as a synthesis from what you were saying, but I experienced that also.
Yeah, for me too, I think it was easier to read those chapters. Actually, normally I try to read every week, or at least on the weekend, but because all the work and everything we've been doing recently, working from home and late hours and so on, and I wasn't able to read the chapters. So in like 3 or 4 days, I read all of them, just flowing, it was easy to digest, it wasn't too hard.
And how many tests did you do? Because these chapters, there's a lot of tests and stuff. Did you have a chance to apply any tests in your reading as well?
Yeah, just when I was reading, maybe something that after normally I do it at night, reading the chapter at night, and then you go to bed with that thought in your mind, and then you process while laying on bed, like, oh, am I like this? Do I do this? Oh, yes, I'm like that, Yeah,
because these chapters are interesting because there's a lot of tests, and there are a lot of poking about discernment and how you're choosing to interpret things, and there's even mention of misinformation and things, which at these times is so crucial for us to be able to interpret things more accurately. Annie, do you have any comment or?
Hi, everyone. I haven't read all the chapters, only until 216. This is also for me a moment that I have a lot of things to do, because we are trying to organize things online, at home, new things, new knowledges to deal with this moment. Né? So, but I think until I have read, I think Professor Waldo mentioned a lot about also self-organization, how we organize our routine to be productive, to be connected with ourselves also as a consciousness, doing our things in our intraphysical daily life, but also connected with multidimensionality. I took some notes, but maybe we can wait for the other comments, and maybe it will be someone can bring some important points too.
Hi everyone. I haven't had the chance to read all the chapters. Like Regina, I just got to certain point on the chapters, but one chapter that caught a lot my attention, I think because of the time that we are going through, it was the test of your renovating consciousness. And when Professor Waldo point out, and I will read. New realities demand more refreshing attitudes in intraphysical life and more intrepid attitudes in multidimensional life in order to eliminate misonism and new phobias. I found this, when I read this, I think it fits really, for me, in my perception, really well with the moment that we as a whole, a world community, but individually as well, we are facing, you know, all the situation that we have now with the COVID-19 and the isolation, the social isolation, the time to reflect and renew ourselves in terms of our working life, our relationship lives. And so I found this very, very interesting when he points out that, and after that he goes and talks a lot about many things. But misonism and new phobias, this, it's actually, yeah, I liked that point.
As I have read, Professor Waldo mentioned also about Proexis, né? And I think some people are also maybe thinking more deeper about Proexis in this moment, because not because we have time, exactly more time to be with ourselves, but also because some people are also dealing or thinking more about the soma, for example, because it's not that it will be happen with us about COVID, but this is a topic that are in the moment in the world, né? And thinking in conscientiology way, né? I think this is an opportunity to think more about the things that we are really giving value in this life. What are we really doing with our daily life? So I think it's a moment to think more about this. Proexis.
I would like to contribute as well at this point, because Proexis for us it's very important, because we have a different paradigm, and I think we can help it somehow, maybe with our energy, or thoughts, or sentiments and energy, and that I have feeling very intensity, because this kind of project, I think, is so important, because many people in different parts of the world
He stopped for me. Did he stop for everyone else?
Yes. He's frozen.
Does anyone else have a comment just until João comes back online? For example, has anyone reflected much about the impact of this moment on our level of sociability? How we're interacting with other people? What reflections do you guys have on that regard?
I was thinking about it just now. Maybe I've been thinking for a while, but I was just now, while I was doing the dishes, I was thinking how important is the adaptability, yeah? So what allows us to evolve the evolution, the way the evolution operates. And I'm not just talking about the consciousness, but all the living things, yeah? It's a capacity of adaptability. So yeah, if we will, as like for the business as well, if they don't adapt, they won't survive, yeah? So there is this new now. There was this pre-COVID and post-COVID. So from now on, if you don't change, if you don't adapt, you won't survive. Like if you do, you get extra points, yeah, how it works, yeah. So the more flexible you are, the more capable of adaptability, the more adaptability you have, the better for you, for your evolution. So I was thinking on it, Jeff.
And there's a phrase in the chapter, I think 206, it says adapt with intelligence. You know, because we can adapt, but it may not necessarily be with much of a vision of the future, or may not be so existential in how we're changing. We could become, because we're seeing this debate, aren't we, in the world? Countries thinking about becoming more closed, more afraid, more xenophobic, versus those who want to cooperate, who want to work together, who want to have transparency. So how are we going to adapt, you know, both on a macro level and on an individual one? Joelle, you're back.
I thought about that point, looking at how we are interacting with other people. I haven't been out very often, but when I go out and I talk with people as well from other countries, my friends, and how we are faced with a reality of change our perspective of displaying of affection, our connections, the level of intimacy, how you keep that level of intimacy even though you are far from the people you have affinity with. So it's very interesting. I think it's a good time to reevaluate what does it mean displaying of affection and the levels of affection we can display, because being in Brazil, for instance, people are very touchy, huggies, kisses, and suddenly you can't hug people, you can't kiss people, and so it's nice. Sometimes I see people put cordon to cordon, you know, in a way to show, yay, hello, and cordon to cordon. Sometimes I look at people and say, you don't even know if I'm smiling to you. And the other day I was talking with a lady at the supermarket, and she said, some people now, you look at their eyes and they raise their eyebrow, and it's kind of, I'm smiling to you. So it's quite of interesting. I suppose we all are in different countries, but how we are actually interacting with each other, and we are not giving up. Of this part is so important, no? The relationship that we have with our people and the people that we have affinity with, and people in general.
I think this is a very interesting aspect, Ana Paula, and I was analyzing here in Germany. We are not so people who interchange so much affection like the Brazilians, you know. But when the crisis started and people really got more aware of that, then they can attract the virus and so on. And here in Germany, it's more because we are living to the French border, and in France, it was really a critical situation. So during these weeks here, we saw that people started to, instead of saying goodbye, they said, stay healthy, but with a very kind energy. And this for German people is like, okay, this for me, it was like a revolution. This is giving affection lucidly to another one, you know, and this is not the formal, correct way we Germans are used to do. And then 2 weeks afterwards, I even saw a documentary about this phenomena. People started to say, stay healthy instead of goodbye. What does this mean? So one psychologist had to say something, then a sociologist had to say something, and so on. So I thought it was very, very interesting. But I would like to go back to João, because when he said that you are helping with energy, I think it's more or less a middle way between, you know, you cannot touch the people, but maybe you can help with energy. But Ana Paula raised the question, how can we show our sociability if we are not able to have even physical contact? I'm not sure, Jean, you were starting to talk about helping with energies, and then I didn't hear anymore.
Yeah, sorry, I lost my internet connection. Yeah, that's the point. I think we can, in this kind of context or event, maybe when you smile for someone, because we'll exchange your energy. So I think people feel more confident somehow, feel more comfortable. So that's the way we can exchange different way of energy. So we don't need to touch the people, but we can smile, we can be kind, we can say something positive. So yeah, that's the way.
And maybe it's an opportunity to feel more, to notice better our pattern, energy pattern. Né? I think this is, for me, it's also like you said, Anne, Catherine, and you, John, that it's a time, for me, it's like this. I am paying more attention in my docenity, in the quality of my energies that I send, or that I am having when interacting with someone, although it could be online like this, for example, but I think it's an opportunity to pay attention on this. Those kind of communication, né? Energy communication. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are looking at I've been following this. It's the initiative that some people are having. And there is a musician that somehow I connected with him in Instagram. And he's actually giving shows online. And he asked people the music that they want to hear. And I did this with friends. And we all connected and asked for the musics and hear together. Despite that we are each of us in one house, different. But it was so interesting because we all felt afterwards so connected. It's like we were having a dinner together. Literally we were, because we were eating, but we put the music there and we were all sharing that music. And afterwards we all felt that it was a connection so strong that we went beyond only hear the music. We all had the objective of relax and hear the music and afterwards have a good chat. And so this is the point that I think it's this situation is showing for me. Especially it's how we are so connected energetically, and multidimensionally as well, and how we impact each other with our presence virtually in WhatsApp or what we are saying. So it was great. If you guys want, I can send you the musician link because he has a beautiful voice and he actually sings in 3 languages: Portuguese, Spanish, and English. So it's just amazing, But anyway, just a joke.
I want to make a comment. I did not have the time to read all the chapters, but regarding to this point of relationships and interactions, I'm thinking a lot about the paradoxes of this moment. How we have things we never thought about before. Yeah. So the interconnection among the people is running in another level. We are connected like never before. Yeah. And I'm also very connected with this holotocene of projectability, which is also like a paradoxal situation, because we are isolated intraphysically, and at the same time, it seems like we have more possibilities to interact in another dimension. So this, I think it's very interesting to think about and to reflect the impact of this situation now in terms of our groupal dynamics, yeah, both intraphysically and extraphysically. I think this is an interesting point.
We're being more aware of our space, right? Which is an interesting thing because we occupy a little space, and now we've been much, much more aware of who's around us, how close we are to others. We're learning. It's like a re-education for everyone about how to manage space, and also, as a few people mentioned, like this more humane touch as well. Be more caring. Like even in work emails and things, people are now starting to type like "stay well." So same thing as in Germany, and same kind of thing. And it's lovely, you know. Like it's actually like the more humane aspects come out of us. So we're more isolated, but you know, but we're opening up. At least I think many people are in another way. So it's lovely to see. What other observations do people have here?
I agree with Ligia. I perceive that in this period of coronavirus crisis, I have more contact and I see more people than before. And I read only a few chapters of the 700 Experiments. It's a book that I like, and in my life, it's a very important book. During a long time, I read this book every day and seeing everything that I read in the 700 Experiments occur in my life. And but in this period, I have a lot of contact in virtual meetings like this about the Pentaprats, and the people have a lot of the doubts, questions about the prats, and it's a very intense period for me. I have more contacts now than before.
I think it's very, very interesting what you said, Flavio and Ligia, and also Ana Paula with her great initiative of the musicians and to have dinner and then a chat. And I think we can connect to this same chapter that Ana Paula was mentioning, 200 of your renovating consciousness. He says there, new realities demand more refreshing attitudes in intraphysical life. And I think we really can now show how creative we are. And I think this aspect that you're mentioning, Flavio, you're helping people with their questions about Penta, because this is now, I guess, a task which is viable, feasible to maybe even got a boost in our Penta because of this global crisis. And like Ron said, we can help energetically. So I think Penta starts with energy, but it goes far beyond because, like you said, you're even clarifying people about Penta and so on. So I think this is there's a big responsibility also for the Penta practitioner to work and to renovate their own interconscientiality in order to give, to work with the limit. What you can give, you have to give now, I think. I don't know.
I think that Penta, it's don't stop with the coronavirus crisis. Instead, Penta increase during this period. It's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, like one thing, for example, there's so people being locked in their houses basically creates additional stresses that previously they weren't aware of in the relationship. So many relationships failing, or the people are having more issues in the relationships. Previously, they would get out of the house every day and it's kind of escape in a way. But now they're seeing the reality and having to deal with, well, what is my reality? And so it's expanding the depth or deepening the experience of the relationship and of life. You know, I mean, I know I'm having that personally, and reports in the media and stuff show that. But you know, there's a bad side to that because some people aren't coping well with it. So you know, the physical abuse and the issues there, and all the mental health repercussions as well. But again, that's the challenge, isn't it? How are you going to adapt in a new situation? And that's the way. You either, get too influenced by the weak traits, whether in society or in ourselves, or we manage to be more humane, more understanding, and overcome certain things. So it's an interesting opportunity.
I think someone, I'm not sure if it was you, Jeffrey, or Annie, who spoke about this space. And it's quite interesting because isolation is actually making us living in a house, contained. You don't have a space that usually we have to think, to go out, to do things. And suddenly we are confined in a situation where you are with people that sometimes you haven't stayed really present for a long time, and it started to come up, those things. But I've been observing and talk with people, and how it is so interesting having this opportunity to look at, I've been escaping from me, not from this person, and it's such a nice moment. I'm kind of reflecting in the way I relate with people, and also the demands I make towards other people, the expectations. Because what I found with this moment, the distraction we usually have, that external things, we go out and do things, we are not having anymore. So we need to deal with the things that we need to face, yes or yes. There is no other option. So I found, for one hand, it's a challenge, but another hand, I found very rich. And that's why I like that chapter, because it makes me think and wonder. There is not one way of relate. What do I need to change in my way of relating and expectation of others and for me? And so what do I need to change my neophobias, so overcomes my neophobias and my mindset that is so set I can't adapt to this new form of relationship, which is quite good, I think.
Hi people, good morning for everyone, or I don't know what's the time in your place. I would like to add some perspectives to this discussion. It's a kind of systemic perspective. I was wondering about the situation, this isolation and this intraphysical condition of humankind. And I was thinking that in the daily, usual, normal daily life, we are in a rush. We are always in a kind of existential, more robotic existential. I don't know exact expression. I think it is existential, robotic existential, Proexis. And I think it's a challenge that we need to change all this pattern in our society, and in order to improve the quality of life, intraphysical quality of life. And it is not easy, because if we come back to the normal conditions, this will continue. I think this moment is a big opportunity to reflect the new approach and that society has to develop after this coronavirus and this COVID pandemic. But I think it's very important, because this I think is very consciential issue. I think this is the proposal of Conscientiology, that people connect with themselves and go more deep inside in order to behave in more conscious way. And then I think this is the good thing about all this process.
Yeah, I'd like to tell that point Robert said about Robert's existential robotization, sorry. And I think people will rethink about the social medias and stuff like that, because our people I think to keep it more cozy in terms of relation. I think people are still more robotic. So I think it's a turning point to this kind of moment in history of human. And I think it will be very important because somehow people are just like egocentric somehow. But I think people are more care about each other, more close.
And what do you think, João? Do you think that this behavior, do you think it will be like a permanent lesson? Or do you think after the crisis it will go away? What is our perspective for after Corona? How will be our sociability? What do you think?
It's a good question. Well, I think people will try to realize about their values, human values, because just people repeat the same thing, just a lot of distraction, entertainment, social medias, so they repeat all the time the same. So I think maybe we think about what's the real values of life, because in different countries people are dying, or other countries not so well, but we can feel that kind of event in every part of the world. Maybe will be a slowly process, I think, so very slowly.
And I think overall, some things will change, and there are many articles, people saying that definitely will change. The other day I was looking at an airport plane in Dubai, where they extract everything in the place to avoid contact with people, and so you enter, there is a camera. It's all the technological way. So we are talking about this in terms of macro, but I think in micro will depend each of us how we digest all these moments and how this time will reflect in us in terms of our reflections, our ability to change some things, and then afterwards this will have had an impact. I think it's in a higher level in terms of a quantity of people that are in this situation. So you look at, yes, we all are in the same boat, but how each of us will get out of that boat and how we're going to experience the level of depth we are having the experience will depend on us, and on how we are taking our reflection serious and how we are changing, re-educate our habits, change our way of see the world and see ourselves and other people and so on. So I think we will have impact, but depend on each of us how much that impact will grow inside of us, no?
No. You finish, Anna? May
I... sorry, finished.
Okay. So I read the chapters and I was impacted by the chapters in the end because they talk a lot about our world and our sociability in group, you know. And there is one chapter that is the 251 one, that is the test of a political consciousness. And I just thought that has a lot, it talks a lot about what we are living now, you know, that battle between economy and life, you know, human life. So we are living that. And even in the chapter, he talked a lot about democracy, capitalism. I was trying to find the phrase that he says, more or less like he says, there is people that put money, dollars over life. And so we are living that right now. And in the same chapter, he says, we prepare for the future world state, you know. And I was thinking about all this. He also say another phrase that is, a liberal democracy can be the first step towards mega fraternity. So that chapter just raised me lots of thoughts, reflection about what is happening and how we are positioning ourselves in that situation, no? Because from one side we have this empathy that is, everyone is having the problem. I think now our empathy is growing. So we are connecting more, we are feeling more because of the situation. So our sentiments, it's, I don't know, what I hear from you is the same, is I'm feeling more connected, I'm feeling more towards people and talking to people. And we are having more time to reflect also, because many of us is working at home or even is not working for that time. So I just was a lot about reflection, how we position ourselves. Conscientiology is talking about this situation, economic and life, because also economic involves life, and is not about only money. It's about also how we live. I'm experiencing something new in Australia, because really here they are organized, they care about people, and they are trying to do a lot of things that, and I the same time I leave Brazil, because I'm connected with Brazil, I'm reading all this situation, the political situation that is really, also I'm connected with the United States, because here we have lots of news about what is happening there. So it's a lot about reflection, what is going on in this world and how we position ourselves. I just want to erase that here.
Magali, can I just complement something about this idea? Because I'm thinking a lot about how we move around and where the people are now, exactly at this moment of this pandemic. And sometimes I think about this, some people had specific movements before this happened. They moved from one country to another. They moved from one group to another. And it seems to me that this is, there is something much bigger behind this. And I think when we amplify this understanding, it's good. We have new ideas about and the consequences of this and our role on this process. I think it's also important. So I think it would be good to discuss about this. Yeah? The role we play in terms of our responsibilities with reurbanization and with our Proexis and all this. Where we are now and what we are doing now.
Can I add something? Okay. This is my first meeting with you guys, so I'm like in silence, trying to learn how you do and so on. So, but at this point, I may have some comments or some ideas to share. I'm thinking that there's this big difference between our own like internal life and reflections as consciousnesses. Like, this has been strengthened during social distance because each one of us is more, well, which one's oneself, you know. And at the same time, we look around, as Magali mentioned, for example, here in Brazil, things are very complicated here socially, politically. So this contrast between the gain, perhaps, we are able to have as consciousness, and also all the problems and conflicts we see around, I seeing around, I think this moment probably, is it going to change after all this? I think for consciousness it will. I think the bigger gains are for consciousness. I think society, it's too difficult to change, and capitalism, for example, it changes very slowly. So I suppose everyone is hoping it ends, so business as usual can come back and return. But I would bet that like I said, the bigger gains are for individual consciousnesses, because we are all forced. Well, some of us, I suppose, they enjoy, and others are very with a lot of conflict about it. But we are forced to be isolated with ourselves and to think about what are our real values and what do we want to do in life, and we didn't do it yet. So this sort of thing. Well, I don't know what's my conclusion, but I'm trying to, share the ideas I had listening to you guys. And what I'm trying to think about in the end, or in the bottom line, is this question Lígia just did. What's the connection between this pandemic situation and reurbanization, for instance? Is it like I suppose it's not intentional to harm, but eventually it has some role on making consciousness stronger. I suppose this is the link I can make with reurbanization and the pandemic.
Alexandre, one thing that you talk about that is not the system, but is the consciousness. That is important, because sometimes it's not about the system, it's not about capitalism, because good conscience, grow conscience, evolve conscience in capitalism would do very well, because, it's more about the consciousness than the system. And it's one thing that comes to me. It's more about the consciousness that you were telling. And I see, because you can see in different countries, there is capitalism, but they treat differently, they think. And so I think this pandemic is making us growing. It's an opportunity to grow anyway. It's not the best one, but it's an opportunity to grow. So just complementing. And so I think that has to do with the urbanization also, because I think even us, that we are living that, we are reflecting and we are urbanized with them, we are changing. And as we change our, psychosphere, we change also, we contaminate other people beside us, and all these make a difference in that reurbanization.
There's something I wanted to mention as well. Like, I think the crisis, I kind of hope the crisis is big enough. You know, it's affecting everyone in every country around the world, which, you know, we just have to keep reminding ourselves because it seems so unusual and new. And at moments like these, when it's affecting so many people, major structural changes can happen. So, you know, in the past, there was major wars, and then big structural changes would happen because enough people were mobilized. And I was reading an article today, and I just want to share a little bit with you. And the person references the Financial Times. So in London, in England, the Financial Times, in the world, it's basically like the preeminent newspaper that talks about finance and money and capitalism and all this stuff. And they said in the editorial in April, they said the following few phrases. I'll just read a couple of the phrases. Radical reforms, reversing the prevailing policy direction of the last 4 decades, will need to be put on the table. And then they go on to say redistribution. Well, labour markets, they'll need to look for ways to make labour markets less insecure. Redistribution will again be on the agenda, the privileges of the wealthy and elderly in question. Policies until recently considered eccentric, such as basic income and wealth taxes, will have to be in the mix. And so you've got, you know, you've got some politicians on one hand calling for like a world government, a world federation. You've got the major financial newspaper in the world talking about major changes happening to the structures of how societies are governed. So I also, you know, am a fan of the idea that consciousnesses will grow a lot from this. We individually would all grow a lot from this and learn a lot. But I'm also hoping that it's a big enough and long enough and deep enough shake for the entire system to change, to be more humane, and to start putting people and the environment and everything that's living first, as opposed to putting money first, and stop being so savage in terms of the capitalistic world. So I just wanted to share that.
How long this pandemic has to last till people realize and change it?
Good question.
Yeah, I think the key point is this rethinking about time and space. Yeah, Jeff mentioned about space, but I think time also. So the way we see time and space after this crisis has to be in another way. So, and I think it will all depend on the individual intention and importance you give to this. Yeah?
Did you see those questions or the chapters 223, test of your spatial consciousness, and 224, test of your temporal consciousness? They're great. Like they just, oh.
I don't know if I can speak now. I don't know if there is an order or something.
No order, my friend. Jump in.
Okay. I was listening to you for a while, and I don't know if I think I see that in a very different way. I don't think that people will change like as consciousness or as like awareness of our self-being or something like personal growth like that you are saying. For example, we've been there before as a planet, as in the history of humanity. You have this crisis before, not so far ago. And I think that as when you have something really big, like for example, like the Second War or First War, things change for better sometime. For example, they're like increasing or research and developments in economy and health even, and we discover new ways to do things. For example, now we are discovering new ways to contact, to talk, to share information. That will change, and for a while I think the restrictions of being together will stay, maybe for a few years, maybe 5 years, I don't know, until that will last, because you don't know the disease yet, right? For example, we don't know even basic things like if I can get immunity, permanent immunity about that. So we can really predict because we really don't know yet. But I don't think that will change. It will change society, but not this perspective, or like the like you said, like the robotization. I don't know. It's the existential robotization, something like that. I see that will be the same. For my perspective, I think it's kind of, I have two mixed feelings about that. Of course, there is a sorrow. I'm sad about many things. People are losing their jobs. There is a global economic crisis. A health system is having a hard time. I'm a doctor, so I keep working. I'm worried about my patients. I'm worried about myself. But at the same time, I'm kind of excited about seeing people handle this situation, how people are creative and how they are getting ways to keep doing it. And that's really exciting to me. For example, like I'm a volunteer work from OIC, so I'm really surprised in a good way to see how people are overcoming this situation. Of course, we can do what you used to do normally, but they are trying to help and keep going. That's really exciting to me. It's really the best part of the human being, be able to adapt and overcome, and that's really amazing. And I don't know if I had this. I feel depression about this worrisome, the pandemic, and even extraphysically, it's a hard. It's a heavy pressure, but at the same time, do you know, I don't usually worry about things that I can control. It's not on my field. For example, I have to go work every day. I take care, I use the precautions, but sometimes things happen and I can get the disease and things can go bad and can even die. Most of us will survive, few will die, some will die, and that doesn't really makes me anxious or affects me, because I know that I'm doing what I can do. So I see that people worry a lot about, oh, things will change, do you think that will change, when it's going to end. And sometimes I feel there is a lot of sorrow and bad feelings and a bad energy related to that. And I think that one thing that you should do is keep going and doing and completing and realizing do what you can do to complete your Proexis and keep going day by day. And don't worry so much about that, because it's really, we don't know. If you can have help, amazing, but you don't know if you'll be in a big crisis, if you'll be isolated or self-isolated with self-distancing from each other for like the next 5 years. I don't know. But what I want to say is that I don't think it's intelligent to spend your energy thinking about that, especially in a long perspective, because we can answer that question. So it's not meteorology, but it's far from being answered. And what I want to say is that keep doing what you should do. If you need to, if you think you need to develop a course, do it online. If you need to write something, do it. Help someone in a different way, do it. But keep going it. Do you know, for example, like the Littré personality, I think he wrote out much of, well, there are a lot of personalities actually that did a lot of work. Maybe it's the best work of their life, the best gestion, by when they were isolated or when they were not able to go out. And so that's it. I just want to share that with you, because I see on social network and everywhere people trying to figure out. I don't think it's really useful at this point, at least, because you don't have the scientific data yet.
I would like to comment a little bit your position in terms of a kind of a stoic approach. Yeah, you need to take care of what you can control and forget about what you cannot control. But I think that this time is time to reflect about our preparation, because as intermissivists, we need to think about our responsibility in terms of connection with the other peoples. And if you are having time to reflect now, in terms of our leadership, in terms of our responsibility to connect with other peoples after this period, then I think it's time to figure out how to create new conditions and new approach after this. And then I think it's not only think about our change, but our change as a group, evolutionary groups.
Yeah, there is something also about questioning yourself now, positioning yourself. It's not about the future, it's not about the past, but it's about what is happening now and how you're questioning. Are you doing the right questioning? Are you reflecting? Because that's important. I think it's important to question ourselves and to look at things in other perspective, in other people's perspective, this social thing. Even if its isolation is really good, as Juliana said, it's really good isolation to us to reflect more. And I think most of us, we can take advantage of that. Some people still struggle with the isolation. But maybe we, as conscientiologists, we take advantage of that opportunity. But it's also this kind of reflection, and I think reading, discussing, seeing other people's perspective, also affection, that is our sociability, and be together and exchange idea, reflection is really important.
Yeah, I think we should increase this kind of approach online. Actually, that's very interesting because you start that before this activity, before this pandemic. So it's really interesting. But I think you should do that. I mean, if you have something to say, do a course online, interact more, help people. I see this, for example, today we are with after here I will be in an activity about anxiety. I think there is a lot of anxiety related to the situation. But what I want to say is that you should keep going, because there is like a lot of need outside. People need help more intraphysically and extraphysically too. It's brutal, the need of help, really. Since the start of this pandemic, I don't know about you guys, but my TNAP, sometimes I have to do like an extra hour of TNAPs during the day. The things are really, really intense. I don't know if it's because I'm at the hospital daily, but things are hard here. It's not easy.
In your case, Juliana, I think it's harder. Some of people are in the front, and that is what I see on television, like people die, and I'm not living that reality because I live it through television. But for you people, you have a lot of work. I like, even if extraphysically everyone has, but I think people in the front line, I seen something that they have ever seen, and this is still going on, so it's hard.
Yeah. But as I said, I'm really excited to see people overcome that, creating ways to do it, and I think you should do it with our Proexis too. Don't be stuck. Find a way to help more. I don't know, differently, change your plans. I think we should be flexible, and that's it.
Just to clarify for the not Portuguese speaker, Juliana said 10x. She meant penta. It's the penta work, okay?
Sorry.
Personal energetic, just for the records, okay? We talked about that before a little bit with Flavio before you jumped in, Juliana, and I agree totally with you that we have to look at our potentials and to qualify our penta these days for sure. Something what Juliana said and then Magali complemented brought me to the connection to the comment of Michiko when she was commenting on chapter 206. Maybe you can have a look, effects of intraphysical mega liberty, because we are talking about choices and how can we now try to improve ourselves and so on. Michiko, would you like to maybe repeat what you said, what were your association of ideas when you read this chapter 206?
Yeah, so I was just reflecting a little bit on that, and I posted a question to the forum about that, and I just wanted to see what everybody thought. So I just thought that, this chapter about mega liberties and having this idea of having more ample individual liberties and choices, and in this current situation, but I'm talking more about the times that we live in here now intraphysically. I thought that it raises kind of an interesting dilemma, because evolution has meant, and I'll read the question that I posted, evolution has meant that we now have more and broader liberties and therefore choices, and this has brought positive changes throughout history, for example, women's suffrage, but at the same time, more liberties and more choices to choose from require more time, energy, and sound judgment. When we had less choices and less liberties, we were kind of that dictated what we did and what we said and how we acted, what jobs we chose, for example. And I think for those of us who want to prioritize self-evolution, we have to prioritize among these many liberties that we have. And in this modern world, it seems like a good opportunity for us to recycle, a lot of our traits that we want to improve upon, but it can also explain why we can feel more overwhelmed. And like Juliana said, it's a topic right now. It's a huge problem is anxiety. A lot of us are feeling anxiety, and I'm just wondering, it's a question that I want to put out there, how much of that anxiety is actually because we have more liberties and choices. So I thought I'd put it out there and see what everybody thinks about that.
Well, I like the initial comment. I like to about our choice and prioritizes. I think so important because in this time we have a lot of maybe distraction, and so I think we need to have a lot of focus because we need to prioritize our projects. I mean, what we can improve our weak traits. So I think it's very hard because nowadays we have a lot of distraction, and that's the robotization. People are, so I think my conclusion is that pandemic people are realized about their choices because they care just about their yourself, just about what you're doing, what's my entertainment, but not other people around them. So I think somehow people are sensibilized about the consciousness around you. So what's happening around me? So I think, I think we a little bit changed slowly.
It seems that this crisis make people start to think better and make even be responsible, because people that wasn't responsible before now has the responsibility of themselves and the others, because if I catch it, I can contaminate my family, and I can, someone can die. So it's a lot of responsibility.
I just want to comment that I don't think that anxiety is related with we having more options. I think it's related with we don't have capacity or ability to deal with a lot of information and options and this and that, and in the end with the freedom maybe and doing the decision by ourselves, because you can see the other side of that. For example, if you have someone that don't have many choices, submitted to another person, for example, another person is doing all the decisions for her or him, that doesn't change the capacity of feel anxiety, because anxiety came from fear from something in the future. So I can have this feeling if I'm not doing the decisions on my life. I can imagine something, fear something. So I don't see directly this relation between anxiety and be able and have many choices. But of course, if I have problems about doing choices, deciding, and prioritize things, and I receive a lot of information, I have a lot of ways to do something, different ways to do something, that can create anxiety. I can have anxiety, but it's more related, I guess, with that point, because I see that, for example, when people are submitted and they don't have choice, they also have anxiety. So I don't see this causal relation.
Yeah, maybe it makes more confusion, gives an opportunity for the person to be a little bit more lost inside themselves because of things. But throughout these chapters, I noted a few trends, and one of the things that the author was writing about comes down to like a lot of self-discernment. So, you've got inputs and outputs, and you've got interpreting of certain things, and you've got actions, was sort of a little synopsis I did. And then in the interpretation area, you've got a thing like lucidity and awareness, right? So how discerning are you? How clear are you thinking? And so then it, you know, like all going around to having new experiences, different ways of looking at things and stimulating your self-discernment. So, you know, if you know yourself, and obviously projections and out-of-body experiences can help you to expand your self-knowledge. So the idea being like stopping the repetitive bad habits and all that kind of things, the self-mimicry and the like. But I sort of picked up on, and it's a little bit related to what you guys are talking about in terms of what's your position, what's your attitude, what do you want? And when you have that clear enough, things like anxiety and so forth maybe diminish. What do you guys think?
I would like to add something, and actually, I would agree with what Juliana is saying. The anxiety, it's actually, everybody says that's the worst illnesses in the century 21. No, and you can see lots of people trying to come up with certain ways for us to deal with anxiety. But in my experience nowadays, talk with people and groups and so on, I'm dealing more with the group that it's high risk, which is the aging population. And it's interesting to talk and interact with them and see how they are dealing with the fear of death, of dying, the fear of getting coronavirus and die. No, the fear of not be able to give the money for the family, because lots of family actually rely on the retirement income. And so it is, I think, a fear. And uncertainty increases that fear. That's one thing for us to think about, no?
Well, about Jeff's question, I think it makes sense, of course, if you are more aware about what your Proexis is and, well, trying to prioritize better your resources like energetic and time, material, and so on. You tend to be less anxious, I suppose. But at the same time, we are more, like I think many of you were saying, we are kind of more connected energetically. So it's another paradox, because even if you are quite, well, you're calm about your Proexis, but the energetic demands, the interassistential demands, they are increasing, as Juliana were saying, and Ana Paula too, and others. So it's kind of like this two plates, situation. Like you have to keep this balanced. On one hand, more, I feel, for example, I feel more concentrated to produce and to write. But on the other hand, I also feel more energetic demands, like this pressure of fear and kind of a sense of being lost, and also this angst. So all of that is mixed in this situation. But for me, at least, I'm being able to produce a lot more, and this is, good for me. But I'm also feeling more of this pressure than I'm used to.
I'm in the group risk, and I have to work every day. Like every day I go out. I'm an oncologist, but my patients had COVID too. We have few deaths here in the city, our city here in Foz do Iguaçu, but one of them was a patient of mine that I admitted. And so that's very, very real to me, the possibility of catching or even die. And how I deal with that? You know, I'm trying to do my best. And as I say, I don't know the future, and of course I don't want to die. If I die, I think it will be like a bad thing about my Proex, the things that I have to do, my projects. But how can I say that? Shit happens, you know. That's it. And if I die, I will come back next life. Maybe not with all this support of Conscientiology. Maybe I'll be born in, I don't know, a rice land in China. I hope not. But that's it. I think the consciential paradigm helps me a lot about that. You know, thinking about that. I don't think that I won't be sad. I won't be hard. I won't suffer even. But in the end, that's it. It's a shit situation. Sorry about the expression, but it's.
I think as you, Juliana.
Yeah. I'm a very practical person. Sorry about that if I'm shocking some people or even
no problem, Ju.
Feel rude. I don't want to be rude or insensitive about other people's feelings and how they are dealing with that. But I'm saying how I'm dealing with that. And at the beginning, I was really scared and anxious, and then I stopped and thought, oh, wait a minute. What I can do to help in that situation. So I start to study, helping people around me to, every day when I see something that is scientific based, that can help people, I share with other people that are interested about that, how they can, I don't know, the other day I share how to take a shower without contaminate yourself, for example. Simple things like that. And I'm not really giving up or nothing like that. But at the same time, again, Roberto was right. I really use, even before Conscientiology, some principles of the Stoic group or something like that. I really don't worry about things that I can control. Of course, I'm not a suicidal. I try to take care, and I wish I could be home, isolated, but I can't now. I won't start to explain to you why, but I can. It is not even totally my choice. I can. There are many things related to that. So that's it. And if as I told you, if I die, I hope to see you next time. I hope they remember me somehow. And
I hope you don't die. But anyway, if you were born in China, you are close.
No, China, no, please.
Okay, but anyway, you know, your way of facing that, I think is really health. I'm not shocking about it. I think it's health, you know. Even I know that you're being responsible, like you're taking care, and that's the more important thing, the taking care. But you see that you are in front line and you cannot leave them. That's it. That's life, like you say. And I think it's really good what you're sharing here. You know, it's really good.
I think when we are doing what we can do, respecting our limits, because all of us have our limits, but trying to do our best. I agree with Juliana, because it's not just now. when this time that we are dealing with this crisis. But since I have learned about the somatology, for example, I try to think every day, if I die today, it's everything okay? What I still need to do, or what I can do better? Are all my relationships with the people in my group karma, the people that I have contact, it's everything okay? What I need to do more? And how is the best that I can do for today? So I think for me, it's a way to feel peace, inner peace, that we are trying to do our best. It could be not the best, but we are trying to do in this way. And I agree also that it's a situation that we don't know how will be the future after this crisis. We don't know what will be changed or not, but the present today are in our hands. So what we are doing nowadays or today, so it's important. This is a thing that I have control in a way. So I think it's a way to not to be anxiety with the situation, but trying to also to understand in a bigger view also. I think Conscientiology or the consciential paradigm bring us this opportunity to see the situation or to understand the situation in another way. I think this is for me too.
I think with the set of ideas in Conscientiology, we understand the meaning of many cog in a max mechanism. Each of us, we are doing what we need to do. Some, like Juliana, Roberto, are on the front line with the patients every day. They can't give up. They need to go and work in the front line. Some of us are dealing with patients. Some of us are dealing with a family, our relationship, closer relationship. In any way, I think we are having an impact in the people who are around us. And I totally agree with Regina. I say that we need to take one day each time because that's the way we decrease our anxiety of future or feeling of impotence towards something we don't have control over, and we can't just think that we would have in any time. But it's very important, that we keep going and take one day at a time, but also understand that if we deal with energy, we do Penta, we understand the multidimensional reality. This demands from us in this ideal that we have a different response, or a response that we can have some tools to deal with the extra-physical pressure, to deal with the pain of the other person that comes through the energy towards us, to have empathy, to understand the limit of each person, and to understand this, all of us, we are in fear to a certain level. We all, in certain level, are dealing with the impact of uncertainty, but we all are trying to do our best. And I've been looking at lots of different professionals that are online, people that open up and talking about their expertise, financial expertise, economical expertise, psychological expertise, free of charge for people, 2 hours having classes. And so I think as a mini cog in this max mechanism, I think we all, each of us, we can do something. And it's a drop in the ocean, definitely. It's something is better than nothing. It's just for us to reflect. We are in pain, but there are so many other people with even more pain than us. And sometimes it's nice to look around and see that there are some people that really need what we have. And sometimes it's a good quantity of energy that we can give to that person. Just sit and listen and do what we actually we have been learning to do with assistentiality, exercise our ability to assist other people. It's just to think about. I actually would like just to call the attention that the planet's breathing, I think, for the first time in so many years, so many centuries, I suppose. The animals are coming out, the butterflies, the birds, the turtles, they are appearing. Venice, one of the beautiful icon tourist destination in this planet. The water is crystal, fishes are coming. So nature is teaching us that we need to respect the space of each other and give time for people and for the planet to breathe. The air is so beautiful. You look around and the sky looks like bluer. So there are positive things happening in this planet. You have lots of initiatives, positive initiatives, that people are putting all their energy to help other people, and they don't need to have much money. They just have a good idea, good disposition, and they are doing it. So it makes us to think about.
Okay. Guys, we are in our time, so I just want Amy and Jeffrey, if you want to tell anything, or you can.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I think we reached a consensus that as conscientiologists, having the paradigm of conscientiality to understand a broader reality, I think we are very privileged, because I saw it from all the comments and the association of idea, and I think the debate flew really smoothly. It was very interesting for me, and I think we have this privileged situation because we got all this information, and at some point we can digest them, and this is responsibility also. But I think we are in a good way going through this crisis. Okay.
Okay, Jeffrey, do you want to?
No, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks once again for the contributions and the mixture of thoughts and approaches. I really like it. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so we invite everyone to go to our website. I don't know if you're receiving, maybe you're not receiving, but there is a discussion happening there. So we are going to open the next discussion of the next meeting. So go there while you are reading the chapters and try to bring your ideas, okay? It's really good to have your company here. We hope you come back the next meeting that will be held by João and Alexandre Zas. So that's it. Michiko, you want to say anything?
No, nothing more to add. Just thank everybody for your participation, and we hope to see you in the next discussion. Thanks, everyone.